Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to inspire a world where food makes us better. Today, guys, I'm going to share with you a very interesting piece of research that I came across while doing research for my other projects, like specifically with supermarkets and helping them to help you identify foods as better for you or not so good for you foods. So I came across this research from Food and Agricultural Organization that is a part of United Nations. So this organization does a lot of research and analysis about food system, our agriculture when it comes to human health and planetary health as well. So this document is about ultra-processed foods, diet quality, and human health. The interesting detail or the interesting part about this piece of research, or better say, I guess, analysis, is that they present the division of foods into different food groups based on their procession, or basically the way they are processed. Because from all the data and research and analysis that they came across, it seems that the way we process our food and food products will determine the healthiness or unhealthiness of those different foods. And so basically, the less processed foods are, the better they're for our health, and the more processed foods are, the less healthy they're for us. And there are quite a few interesting points that I will share with you as we talk about this report. So usually, you might hear that foods are divided based on their carbohydrate content or fat content or proteins or sugars added or all these different substances in foods, right? But this specific report divides food based on the way they are processed. And so to give you a better idea what I'm talking about, first group, for example, includes unprocessed and minimally processed foods. And so unprocessed foods, there is a definition in this document. By the way, you will be able to find this document following the link in the show notes. So unprocessed foods: edible parts of plants, fruits, seeds, leaves, stems, roots, tubers, or animals, mussels, fat, eggs, milk, and also fungi, algae, spring and tap water. And then in the same group, they have minimally processed foods, or foods that were basically changed by mechanical processes, even though these days they still happen more often on an industrial level. But those processes are kind of the processes that we can do at home, or at least can imagine. So those are removing inedible or unwanted parts of plants or animals, drying, powdering, squeezing, crushing, grinding, steaming, poaching, boiling, roasting, pasteurization. Well, that is not really a home thing, but still, chilling, freezing, placing in containers, vacuum packaging, and non-alcoholic fermentation. Basically something like making yogurt or your sauerkraut, right? And all these methods without adding salt, sugar, or different oils and fats. And to qualify for this group, unprocessed or minimally processed, there's nothing that is added to those foods to change somehow their qualities, their flavor, or the way they are metabolized by our body. The only things that might be added to this group, into the foods in this group, are minimum amount of natural preservatives to make it last longer, but no radical change in flavor, taste, or eating experience. So those here you will find your fruit, your vegetables, but also things like crushed, almonds or dried fruit, or all natural, nothing added or removed juices, and then mushrooms, poultry, all the herbs, all the spices. But again, the the main, I guess, distinguisher of the foods in that group, in those two groups, unprocessed, minimally processed foods, are that there is nothing added to them and they're not changed in a very radical way to change the eating experience. And those are the foods that we usually would use for cooking. And then the second group, processed culinary ingredients or substances obtained directly from group 1 foods or those unprocessed foods. From group 1 foods or from nature by industrial processes such as pressing, centrifuging, refining, extracting, or mining. May contain some additives that prolong product duration. So here you will find vegetable oils crushed from seeds like olive oil, also nuts, fruit, butters, what else? Lard obtained from milk or pork, sugar and molasses obtained from cane and beet, honey. Basically all the ingredients that are still natural, they were not chemically created or altered to a huge degree. They were just squeezed or crushed. And also here we will find salt or sugar, salted butter, things that are used as natural ingredients when we cook. Then there is third group, processed foods. And it's not as bad as it sounds, because processed foods here are defined as follows. Products made by adding salt, oil, sugar, or other group 2 ingredients to group 1. Basically, in group 3, processed foods, it's the unprocessed or minimally processed foods that come from nature. We add to them salt or sugar or some honey or some oil for cooking or maybe, making into a ready-to-eat food. And that's going to be processed food. And here you can find canned or bottled vegetables, legumes in brine, salted or sugarated nuts and seeds, salted, dried, cured, or smoked meats and fish. Here you'll also find freshly made, unpackaged breads and cheeses. And for example, processed foods, when it comes to things like breads or cheeses, they are different from the next group, ultra-processed foods, in a way that there is nothing unnatural about the way they are made. So they are still made in more of a like handmade way, if it makes sense. There are no like bulking agents or flavorings or emulsifiers. So bread in this processed food category can be made only using things like water, salt, flour, and yeast or something like that. You cannot find like 10 other ingredients that you can't even pronounce, right? And that's the difference. And cheeses in this group also. It's something that is made via natural fermentation, not some cheese-like product that is made with a lot of different stuff that you don't have in your kitchen. And then there is a group of ultra-processed foods. So those are the ones that made with hydrogenated oils or protein isolates or flavor enhancers, colorings, emulsifiers, sweeteners, thickeners, anti-foaming, bulking, carbonating, gelling agents. So all this stuff that you wouldn't find in your kitchen, and also the way food is processed in this category is not something you'll be able to do at home. The substances are either created in a lab completely or changed on a submolecular level. So the kind of processing you wouldn't be able to even imagine really, unless you're in food industry, leave alone make it happen in your kitchen. So that is the, I guess, the most defining feature of those ultra processed foods. They are made in a way to, let me actually read to you better definition. Processes and ingredients used to manufacture ultra-processed foods are designed to create highly profitable products, low-cost ingredients, long shelf life, convenient, ready-to-consume, hyper-palatable products liable to displace freshly prepared dishes and meals made from other food groups mentioned earlier. So here you will find all your soft drinks, sweet and savory packaged snacks, chocolates, ice cream, mass-produced packaged breads and buns, margarines and other spreads, cookies made on an industrial level with all these ingredients that you don't have in your kitchen, like different cereals and breakfast items that again made in this other way, fruit yogurts that have a lot of different flavorings and substances again that are not natural, many pre-prepared ready-to-heat products including pies and pasta and pizza dishes, poultry and fish nuggets and steaks, sausages, burgers, hot dogs, and other reconstituted meat products, and powdered and packaged instant soups, noodles, and dessert. Also in this category, guys, you will find infant formulas and other baby products and other health and slimming products such as replacement shakes or powders. So ultra-processed foods, it's not just foods made, it's not just junk food. Actually, protein shakes or a lot of those vegan substitutions, they are also ultra-processed foods. And so, guys, to kind of shorten it, there are four food groups according to this division. Group number one, unprocessed or minimally processed. Those are basically the foods that you will find as close to their natural state as possible. But also when you grind them or squeeze them or cook them or poach them, anything that is made without addition of salt, fat, sugar, or anything else, really. Those are the ingredients that we would find in our kitchen and use them for cooking. Then number two group is culinary ingredients of natural origin. So those are your natural fats and salt and sugars made by natural processes of extraction or crushing, not like high corn fructose syrup that is more of a submolecular industrial process that we wouldn't be able to do ever. And then the next one, group number three, processed foods, are foods from group number one, unprocessed foods. Then we add culinary ingredients and we get this group number three that represents still good quality foods. Like, for example, you will find canned fish there. And I personally am a huge fan of canned fish, but it's still a little bit more processed than, let's say, fresh fish, than where there is no salt, nothing added, right? So processed foods are actually still quite good. And then ultra-processed foods, those are foods that we should really stay away from. Those are the foods that are made with ingredients that we wouldn't recognize as human beings, like our grandma wouldn't recognize them. Also, they're made with processes that are either impossible to do in our kitchens, or they're even hard to imagine. Like, they usually modify foods on a submolecular level, and those foods cannot be made by simply squeezing, crushing something, right? And here you will find all the bulking agents, emulsifiers, and colorings and flavorings. But also, I just want you to pay attention to this aspect of this ultra-processed food, that it's not just junk food. Those are also maybe your favorite keto bar that has a lot of ingredients that have nothing to do with simple foods, or your meal replacement shake, or like Soylent, for example, right? What else? Like different fitness bars, or a lot of also breakfast items, and again, baby formulas. Like, all of these are ultra processed foods. And what all the analysis shows, done by Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations is that the more of ultra-processed foods different population group has, the more health problems that group would have, like obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and other metabolic diseases, gut issues, depression, mortality, frailty, cancers. So the main takeaway is we need to focus not on carbs or fats or calories, but on eating more unprocessed foods, and in some way figuring out how you can eat cooked foods without addition of all these ultra processed foods and ingredients. And so what I really loved about this division is that it puts all the meal replacement stuff in that category too, making it clear that it's not okay to eat fitness bars for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or have a meal replacement drink all the time instead of some of your, breakfast or lunch or dinner. It's not okay. It's not human food. It's still ultra-processed foods. And the same goes for a lot of those vegan burgers of new generation that Impossible Foods make, and a lot of other companies make these days. It is still a highly processed food because it usually would contain different like soy isolate or hydrogenated something, or some agent to preserve it. Like that is still a ultra-processed food, even though it might be vegan. And from my personal experience and with, working with a lot of clients, it's really clear that the more unprocessed and minimally processed foods we have, the better we feel and look. And so my advice, guys, to you, to make it really simple, well, check out this link and look at the list of these foods. It's not a big table. It's like one page. Just look at that and see what percentage of unprocessed foods, ingredients, processed foods, ultra-processed foods you have in your diet. And so the first step to improve your health and your weight long term is to get as close as possible, as often as possible to those to those unprocessed, minimally processed foods with addition of some culinary ingredients for cooking. So the closer we get to that, the healthier we're going to get, and the easier it's going to be for us to maintain our health and ideal body weight. That's, all of my experience, also and personal too, it confirms that finding. And it's a really nice system to separate foods that are better for you and that might not be such a great idea. And also a great way to separate foods that we need to consume daily on a regular basis and foods that you might have sometimes, but they're not something to have on a regular basis. And then for weight loss, guys, I would go a little bit further if weight is something over maybe urgent issue or an important issue for you right now. So I would go even further and eliminate anything that might be powdered or squeezed, like juice, for example. Powder meaning something like flour that, bread is made of or pasta is made of. And I would eliminate all the juice stuff and stick with whole foods that require proper chewing. So, you probably can really easily distinguish or find those foods like, vegetables, steamed or sauteed or baked or roasted or grilled. You still need to chew them. The same with meat and fish and other products. But things like nut butter, you don't really need to chew. You can just swallow it pretty comfortably. Or even though, it's minimally processed food. Or things like, what else is there? That you don't have to chew, or milk or yogurt. They are totally fine, but if you want to lose weight, I would probably go without those foods that require very minimum chewing. So chewing is the key here. The more you stick with foods that require a lot of chewing, the leaner you're gonna be. Like, believe me, guys. So instead of almond butter, almonds. Like, try swelling almonds without properly chewing them. It's probably going to give you quite some indigestion. And for those of you guys who right now want to lose some weight, anything with added caloric ingredients, even though all natural, also need to be monitored. Anything needs to be monitored. So what I mean by that is any oils, fats, sugary items that have calories and are added to those minimally processed foods or unprocessed foods, I would watch those. Salt, not so much, unless you have health problems like your blood pressure or something wrong with your kidneys. Basically, if you have some metabolic issue, salt might be an issue, a lot of it. But for the rest of you, salt is not an issue. It might make you thirsty, but that's about it. But added caloric ingredients, even though they might be completely natural, like olive oil, right? They need to be watched for weight loss stage. So again, I would look at this document, focus on unprocessed and minimally processed foods. Again, look at the document. It's like the actual table in section 2 with the division of these foods that is really tiny. Anyhow, so I would stick with unprocessed and minimally processed foods. And for weight loss purposes, I would go even a little bit further and eliminate anything that is powdered, juiced, and made into a substance that require no chewing. And then I would watch substances, especially that taste sweet and different fats with, calories, and just use the amount that I need, and the rest of the stuff get from whole foods. So think like avocado instead of avocado oil, eating olives instead of olive oil, eating almonds instead of almond butter. That's kind of thing that I'm talking about. And that's about it, guys. I just wanted to share with you what I learned for this document. And I believe our supermarkets, we need as society to adopt this system of division of groups. And I'm thinking about introducing traffic light system. I think they tried it in some countries, but maybe they didn't quite try it in a right way, because there is, one way or the other way, and every way works differently a little bit. So traffic light system, green foods are unprocessed or minimally processed. Yellow foods are culinary ingredients, and processed foods, but processed in still natural way. And then red ones are those ultra processed foods. So that's the kind of division I would love to see in all of our supermarkets. So we have an idea what should make the majority of our food and what should be avoided, so we have all the green foods, and then we have less of yellow foods, and red should be avoided as much as possible. So that's the kind of solution I'm looking to introduce into our supermarkets. Anyhow, guys, that's it. So check out the link in the show notes. Stick with those unprocessed, minimally processed foods cooked with some culinary ingredients. And believe me, guys, over time, you're going to feel and look better than you ever did. And plus, guys, it will be so much easier to regulate your appetite, your blood sugar, your natural hunger. Because, even though you might be eating protein bar or a keto bar or something, it might have like low carbohydrate count or something else, in that realm, or a lot of protein, but it's still highly processed foods, and it's not gonna make you feel as satiated as whole foods would. And the way, the amount of hunger or satiation that you experience on a regular basis, it has a lot to do with your cravings and body weight, and at the end of the day, your health too. So just keep this in mind. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Have an awesome weekend. Share this episode with one other person. Talk about it. Learn from it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And guys, as usual, till next time, eat better daily.